Hi, and welcome to Community Talk. I'm Matt Lohman. I'm the Executive Director of Hope Outreach Ministries. With me today I have Rodney Fowler, the Director of Transitional Housing Ministries. Welcome today, Rodney.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it.
Well, I have a question, and since you are the Director of Transitional Housing Ministry, I figure you would be the best one to answer it. What is Transitional Housing Ministry? What is that?
Well, Matt, primarily the transitional housing is just it's an affordable housing in conjunction with the life skill development program. It's primarily for helping people come out of distress situations, and it's just really just a program to help them get on their feet and overcome any barriers that they might have that are hindering them from being successful.
Well, since I'm from Hope Outreach, I think that's awesome. But what population are we targeting? Because there's a lot of people who are in stressful situations. With the Transitional Housing Ministry, what population are we going to be targeting?
Well, specifically people that are possibly justice involved or maybe hindered by addictions. Mm-hmm. It's important for us just to focus our efforts on a specific population. That way the curriculum within the life skill development program is specifically designed for them. And so primarily, like I say, someone that's justice involved or maybe with addictions.
Okay. If you don't mind me asking, why that population? Why are we focusing on that population with this ministry?
Well, of course, with Hope Outreach, we provide a lot of services for the homeless community. Mm-hmm. And when we're speaking of the homeless, generally, that we're looking at three different categories, so to speak. Either with addictions, justice involved, or maybe they have a mental disorder. Mm-hmm. And so in that population, we really there's a large need here in our community for that. Mm-hmm. And so we're just wanting to try to help that community. And so we're designing this program specifically for a portion of the homeless community.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask you this. We're talking about a transitional house for them to be able to stay in and get the life skill development that you mentioned and that needed support. What would you say to somebody who says, that sounds great, but aren't you going to be drawing that type of people to our community? And now our community is just going to be full of folks who are justice involved. Nothing against them, but you're drawing all them to our community. What would you say to somebody who asked that question?
Well, they're already living in our community. Out of the population that do go through incarceration, of course, 91% of that population will return to our community. Mm-hmm. So they're already living in our community. It's just 51% actually are not receiving the appropriate programs, and that's one of the reasons we are providing this service for them. And so they're already living in our community just without appropriate supervision and without a treatment program, so to speak, to help them get back on their feet. And so by providing the program, it's actually reducing the odds of them recidivating, which is actually the likelihood of them committing another crime. Mm-hmm. And so providing them with a program designed for their needs, like we are, that reduces the likelihood of them repeating an offense by 30%. And of course, we are a faith-based organization. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting that a faith-based organization, a faith-based program, actually reduces that by another 30%.
Wow.
And so it's really a needed service in our community.
So almost 60% better rate if they're in a program, and a faith-based program at that.
Yes, sir.
We ought to offer. Oh, we are offering that. That's a good thing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you feel the key to success is going to be in this program? What's going to be the key element to success?
Well, I think the key element, of course, is the faith-based. And so along the lines of the faith-based, it's if I was to identify the program a little bit more specifically, I would call it a discipleship program, a mentoring program. And so one of the key elements is having community involvement and encouraging the residents or the individuals going through the program to get involved into church and to church activities, and not just go to church, but actually be involved in the church activities, get involved in the community. And so a key element to help the people within the transitional housing be successful is to have mentors from the community, employers, pastors, and just various elements from the community coming alongside of them and helping them to be successful. They're faced with so many barriers that impede their success that of course, if I'm talking to an individual and trying to give them some suggestions on how to be successful, one of the key things I always tell them is to get involved in your church. And that's where they're going to meet people that's going to come alongside of them and help them overcome things that might be hindering their success.
Okay. Well, Ronnie, you just touched on something. We've talked about it quite a few times, but the idea of the barriers that a lot of these folks face when they come out of incarceration, or they've right before, possibly with justice involved, they're kind of right before, they're kind of under alternative sentencing situations. What are some of those barriers that they run into when they come out of incarceration and they're ready to get their life back on track? They want to do a good job. They want to follow the Lord. They want to get a job and start doing the right things. What are some of those barriers that you're talking about?
There's a few of them. Of course, one of them, they might have lost their license due to like a driving under the influence or various fines. And so helping them get their license, of course, employment's a big one. And so helping them identify a job or, a place to where they can be employed. Of course, our ministry also does, the thrift store is an employment ministry. And so we can offer them some assistance in that area. But really, we're wanting to help them identify a longer-term, sustainable employment that's going to help them overcome some of their situations financially. And so some other barriers that they might have, of course, is extenuated or some large fines that they might have. And of course, another barrier is, of course, and this is a difficult one to talk about, but family barriers. And so helping them to develop good relationships within the family to help them. There might be some situations that they're dealing with on a family level that they might need some specialized faith-based counseling to help them in certain situations. And so that's just a general overview of some of the barriers, but definitely it's a difficult situation for them to overcome those things. And so,
well, and I know you've talked with a lot of guys and gals, and so have I, who've come out and they come out, like I said, they want to get going again. They got all the court costs and court fines that you just talked about. They don't have their license. They can't get their license until they get these court costs and court fines paid down. And then they have a hard time getting a job. I know at Hope Outreach alone, I've had a lot of people thank me for an opportunity to work because nobody else would hire them because they've got that flogged on them. And then they want to stay straight and stay off of the drugs or the addiction that they're dealing with. And they end up finding themselves only living in areas that have a lot of that temptation still in it.
Exactly.
So I think what we're doing here with the transitional housing ministry is a great
definitely
help.
If they're in what you're calling or what I call an endangered environment, it's really good to remove them from that so they can do some things that they need to do to be healthy. And so that's really a good point that you've made there, just helping them get out of that situation to where they can start focusing on some things that they need to overcome. And so that's a big plus as far as this transitional housing. Of course, something that I always see, sometimes these barriers can look so overwhelming that individuals tend to want to go back to areas that they've received relief from, of course, addictions. And so it's good to remove them from that situation and come alongside them as a mentor or really just a friend and help them to overcome those things, to help build their self-esteem. And a lot of times when they're in those situations, it can be a depressive situation. And so getting over that self-esteem barrier is a big part of it. And that's why we just want to come alongside of them with grace and mercy and love, and help them overcome those barriers.
That's awesome. Looking forward to that. One thing too I would ask you about the program is so are we looking at 2-3 years? They stay there for a long time, or what's your idea on getting them up and going?
Well, preferably 6 months. Of course, that can vary depending on their circumstances. Within the program, there's a goal attainment plan to where as they meet certain goals, and as far as their financial employment, as they meet those certain goals, it prepares them to move into independent living. And so we're looking at a 6 to 9 months, about a 6 to 9 month time frame as far as going through the program.
Awesome. And now, is this a program where they're going to be forced to do it, or?
Well, it's going to be on their own recognizance. I mean, they'll, if they want to participate, it's their choice. It's not something we want to force on people, but we definitely want to provide them with some options and some choices. And that's a key part of life skill development, is providing them with various choices and to help them maybe come alongside them and help them to make the right choices. Right. And so we definitely want to leave that open to them. I think that's a big part of their development.
Great. That's great. So Rodney, the folks who are watching out there right now, they're hearing this, they're saying, hey, that sounds like a good thing. How can I get involved? How can I help in any way? Is there a way for some people to help or plug in?
Well, within the program, we'll have some discipleship meetings and some Bible studies in the morning. And also in the evening times, there'll be when we have our life skill development meetings. A good way for someone to get plugged in, or maybe to volunteer, is just to attend those meetings and just let the individuals know that there's support out in the community.
Great.
And so just getting individuals involved in the household activities, so to speak, and maybe a ride to church, or just that way that they can feel more comfortable making some of the changes. A lot of times, just having community support is a big element.
Awesome, that's great. So, sounds like a great project, great ministry. I'm all for it.
We're excited
but
about
it's a big bite to chew. So, when do you think we'll be able to get this up and running?
Well, I'm glad you asked. Because we're going to be starting here on October the 5th, right around the corner. We've, of course, we've been looking for properties that would appropriately handle this type of occupancy. And we've been looking for a little while, as you know. But of course, here recently, we've had a wonderful opportunity. A ministry here in town that's actually been in operations for about 30 years now, has really graciously offered us an opportunity to go ahead and get the program started. Of course, I'm talking about Inner City Ministries.
Yes.
A friend of ours is Pastor Ray Rose.
Yes.
And he's been very gracious to us in allowing us an opportunity to, basically shift the stewardship of that program to Hope Outreach. And it's just it's a blessing. I really don't have the words of my gratitude for it.
Right.
It's quite an opportunity. And so we're right here, right around the corner on October 5th. We will be implementing the program and getting started. So it's
awesome.
It's really an exciting time for us.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Well, Rodney, thanks for sharing about the transitional housing ministry, and just the sheer numbers alone that we have close to 500 people here in Enid that could use this type of program at any time. So that's just a phenomenal thing, and we're just opening and starting one house. We pray that God would bless this and be able to expand it to multiple houses to where we can do this and continue to minister to possibly different populations. Of course, we want to get to a female population, because Enid is #1 in the world per capita.
Well, Oklahoma is #1 for incarceration of females. And so there is a large need for the female population, and so that is some of our projected goals. But as you mentioned, the need is just overwhelming. We haven't even started the program, and we receive calls every day for people looking to participate in the program. So the need is more than one house can handle, but we are on a good track in our strategic projections, so to speak, and so it's just exciting. It's exciting to see it coming to fruition and getting started.
God gets all the glory.
Yes,
He
does.
God. That's awesome.
It's a blessing.
Amen. Well, I just want to thank everybody for time. Thank you, Rodney, for coming and and doing community talk with me today, and being able to share what's going on with the Transitional Housing Ministry. We also just want to remind everybody about Hope Outreach's other ministries. We have our parenting ministry, we have our Homeless Day Center, and our community care ministry. And as Rodney had mentioned before, we have our thrift store ministry, which is also an employment ministry, and it also helps fund the other ministries to be able to provide the services that we have for those. So we're really thankful to the community for your support and your help. Please continue to donate to our thrift stores, volunteer, and also shop at our thrift store so that we can keep these ministries going and be able to serve the community that supports us as well. So we appreciate it, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to Community Talk. I'm Julie Nelson with Hospice Circle of Love. We're a not-for-profit organization that takes care of terminally ill patients in their home or nursing home. We have a team of caregivers that helps with things like pain and symptom management, emotional support, and much more. And today we want to tell you about our fall book sale, which will be coming up on October 9th, 10th, and 15th. With me today, I have one of our volunteers who is helping out with the event, Javita Lang.
Hi, I'm Jovita Lang, and we're going to do it again. We have two a year, 2 book sales a year, one in the spring and one in the fall. It's just lots and lots of books, lots of categories there, lots of just about whatever you want. Our books are 50 cents for the paperbacks and $1 for the hardbacks, no matter how big or how small the book is. Now we do some exceptions for children's books, and we do have a lot of children's books. I think probably about every category that you can think of.
I would say so. Of course, we always have a lot of fiction novels, mysteries. We have a large variety of nonfiction. I can think of all kinds of areas. We have self-help. We have craft magazines,
Yes.
sports, animals, things about families, things about health, autobiographies, biographies. And then we have our cookbooks, which I think you're a fan of those.
I am. I'm a very big fan of the cookbooks, and usually buy several and bring them back after a while and recycle them. But we take all books all year long. We have Gary Lou and Harriet who work all year long, 2 of our volunteers that work so hard to get all these sorted out, and then we'll all meet a few days before the book sale, and we'll get them out in the categories and have the signs there so they'll be easy to find. We open up at 9 o'clock, I think, on a Friday. The
9th, it'll be from 9 to 5, and then the 10th, it'll be from 9 to 2, and then we'll have it again the following Thursday from 9 to 2.
And we'll leave those out for people, and we have lots of people that come on their lunch hour. It's always lots of fun to do the book sale because you meet all kinds of people, and we're hoping for good weather, which I think sounds like we're going to have, I hope. And so just very interesting, and I don't know, I've done it for years, so
I think it's great how many books we have that are like new or in very good condition. And you mentioned that we only charge $1 for the hardbacks and 50 cents for the paperbacks. So really people can get a lot of reading materials for a very small amount of price.
Well, and then we have a sack of romance books, isn't it? Romance books we have for $5, and so they get their sack completely full. It's amazing to me how many people read and how many people like to read. It just kind of boggles my mind, but it's a wonderful way to learn a lot, and a very reasonable thing. And hospice does so many things with this, and we usually make quite a bit of money on the book sale. It's surprising, with 50 cents in a dollar,
Yeah.
how much money we raise. But it's for a very good cause, and it's for people. We use it for people who can't afford.
Well, we charge Medicare or insurance. We bill them for hospice care, and so if the person doesn't have that hospice benefit, then we use money from our fundraisers so that we don't ever have to charge the patient or the families for our services.
Yes, yes, and I know I have a Hospice Circle of Love sign on my car, and it does bring a lot of attention. I have people stop me all the time and say, you know, hospice took care of my loved one, and what good care they got. And so it's just, and the people we work with are just all so nice. Most of them have had someone in their family who has had cancer or some kind of a debilitating problem, and so just a wonderful group of people. It's always fun to be with them. It's always fun to do that, and I always enjoy it. We have some other things coming up too, don't we?
We have a grief group that's going to be coming up in October, and that will be every Tuesday, and it's in the evening from 5 to 6 at our office, and that's open to anyone in the community, anyone 18 and over who is having problems with grief, and they can just call our office to sign up for that.
And I think that is, it doesn't matter whether you've had hospice or not, you're still welcome to be there. I took the grief class. My husband passed away, and I took that grief class with my neighbor lady, and we both enjoyed it tremendously. A lot of good information, and so if you are having trouble, it's just really good. It's nice to, it's kind of nice to be with other people who have had the same problem, and you can relate to them, and it's just, it was amazing. They did a really good job with information for you and stuff, so I really enjoyed that.
And I think it helps for people to be in a group setting with others who are dealing with some of the same issues.
Yes,
did you find
definitely.
that?
Yes, I definitely did. And we had a nice group, a very nice group. And so I would encourage anyone who has lost someone recently to go to that grief group and participate. I think they have it in the evening so that people that work can come after they get off work. And so that worked out very well. And of course, then we have our Tree of Life coming up.
That'll be in December, the first
And
Sunday in December.
That's a regular thing that we've had for many years, and that's always very enjoyable too. And I think we usually have the trees, several trees that are full of decorations and stuff. So for people who have passed away, I put them on for my parents and some other people too. So I always enjoy that.
Yeah.
And
that's the one way that we can help people with grief too, having that celebration to remember our loved ones during the holidays. And those are just some of the things that we do outside of our core services that we provide through hospice. And I'd like to talk a little bit about some of those services that we provide that the book sale helps us do. Of course, our nurses are very important. They provide pain and symptom management and help with teaching. And then we have our nurse aides that provide some of that personal care. And our chaplain, Gary.
Yes, yeah, he does a wonderful job. He's, right now, my mother-in-law's with hospice, and the nurses and the people that come are just wonderful, and it's really been a blessing for her. It's a blessing for the families to be able to stay in their own homes and when they're ill, and the nurses just do a wonderful job. I hear lots of good things all the time about hospice, and it's just something that is just wonderful that they've come out with, that you don't have to go to the hospital if you're ill, and if you get better, if you're on hospice, you get better, you can be dismissed. My husband was on it for a while, got better, was dismissed, and so it's, some people look at it as a death sentence, but it's dying with dignity.
Right.
And then if you get better, you're you're out of there. So that's,
Yeah, and that does happen.
it does. It does.
And then, of course, we have our social worker, Lynn, that helps a lot with things like community resources. There's so many things that she can do
Yeah.
to really help the family
Now I'm
out.
just a volunteer, so I don't really get into all these other things that Julie knows about
Well,
so
the
much.
volunteers are very important too. You could talk a little bit about what the volunteers do.
Yes, well, we go and several hours a week and spend time with people who are on the hospice program. I suppose I know people that have run errands for them, people that have done dishes. My mother was on hospice, and I remember she had a garden, and she wanted one of the volunteers to hoe in her garden, but that didn't work. But we found a volunteer that pleased her, and so it was just a wonderful thing to have them. We just finished I guess it's a trap shoot.
Our
For
play
a
shoot.
fundraising for hospice, and so I was able to help with that, which was very enjoyable. But just to be together with those people is just always such a pleasure. I don't care if it's the nurses, who it is, they're all just so kind and a joy to be around. Really, they are a joy.
And then some of the things that people don't think about that we can provide. We have a pet therapist
Oh, that's right.
and a music
And
therapist.
music, yes. I've met the music therapist at one of the nursing homes, and they really enjoy that. And the pet therapy, I haven't seen that personally, but it seems like the pets always bring out the best in people. And sometimes I know Naomi Snow, who is one of the volunteers. It's been a volunteer for a long time, and she went to see a friend of mine that was terminal, and was reading the Bible to her, and this lady hadn't spoken for a long time, and she all at once started speaking.
Wow.
So it was just, Naomi is just such a wonderful volunteer, and
Yes.
we've had volunteers, for many years. I think Naomi's been like 30 years or something.
She's been with us over 30 years.
Yes,
It's amazing.
she has, and she loves it, and she
Yeah.
goes and visits people all the time and does a wonderful job. She
Yeah.
really does, and I can't say enough good stuff about Hospice Circle of Love, because they do good work. They do a good job.
Well, you want to talk about the book sale a little bit more? I know that we always want to remind people about parking. So they can park on the street and they can park in our parking lot, but we don't want them to park at the Blood Institute since
That's
they
right.
need the parking for themselves. And then we will have volunteers that can help people carry the books to their cars.
Yes, or we have a lot of people, or some people, that come and bring books
Yes.
for us, and so we'll take books that day. They take books all day long. I mean, all year long. Yes, all year long, and those are sorted and kept for the book sales. And so it doesn't matter. You bring the books to the office during the year, but that day you can bring them there. We have a big crowd usually waiting at the door when we open. Just plenty of room to roam around there, and we have, I think, one room we usually have the westerns, the recipe books, the children's books, and then the other room we have the fiction, nonfiction, and self-help, and and I think we have puzzles sometimes.
Yes.
We have CDs.
Yes, movies.
And movies.
Books on tape.
So, and those are all marked where you can see them easily and find them easily, and lots of help there. So we encourage people to come and look us over and buy some books. And
if the weather's nice, we usually try to have some tables set up outside as well.
yes.
And that way it's not as crowded inside.
Yes, that's true. That's true, yes. And those will be all ready to go that morning at 9 o'clock, on a Friday morning at 9 o'clock, and then 9 to 1, I believe, on Saturday.
9 to 2.
9 to 2 on Saturday, okay.
Yeah. And then again the following Thursday from 9 to 2. So it's be the 9th, the 10th, and the 15th.
And the 15th, okay. I know I was putting some signs around town, and so you'll be seeing this in the paper. It'll be in the newspaper, and of course it's on Pegasus, and it'll be on Pegasus, so a good reminder. And so you have 3 chances to come,
Yeah.
which I think is wonderful. and you can come during your noon hour, or we have people that come just during their noon hour that like to read, and so.
We see a lot of the same people that come back
Yes, we
year
do.
after year. Always like to see new faces too, though.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. That's always enjoyable, and like I said, we have lots of fun with the people that are there working. Have lots of fun, and I think we even had treats last year. We had cookies
Oh, yes,
and
baked goods.
Yes, some baked goods that we have there, and I think we just charged them whatever they wanted to pay on the baked goods, and that went over very well, very well. So I'm trying to think of anything else that I've missed.
Let's see, we mentioned the prices.
Yes, 50 cents and $1. 50 cents for the paperbacks, $1 for the hardcovers. And so I've seen people get great, huge books for $1. Also, we did want to mention that we don't take certain books like encyclopedias, magazines. We don't take, and then we don't take like moldy books or really dirty books. Most of those are sorted out by Gary Lou and Harriet during the year, and so all our books are nice, clean books. And
So we'll just invite everyone to come out to our sale. Again, it is going to be Friday, October 9th from 9 to 5, Saturday, October 10th from 9 to 2, and Thursday, October 15th from 9 to 2. And there is some more information on our website, which is hospicecircleoflove.com. Thank you.